Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Success. Friends, hope that all are preparing well for the NET examination. For economics candidates, your exam is on 30th afternoon of this month. About the admit card and exam schedule, I have published a video. In paper 2 economics and in paper 1 also few videos are available in this channel. Go through all the videos. It will be useful for your NET examination. The links of all videos are in the description. In this video, I have given few questions from September 2013 NET question. Please listen to all the questions. Now let's move on to the questions. First question, marginal cost is less than the average cost when average cost falls with. Options, an increase in output, a decrease in output, constant output, no change in output. Here, marginal cost is less than the average cost when average cost falls with. Average cost is the total cost divided by the number of units of a good produced. Marginal cost is the cost of producing one more unit of a good. Average cost is average total cost. Average total cost includes average fixed cost and average variable cost. Average fixed cost falls continuously with the increase in outputs, and average variable cost has reached its lowest point and then starts rising. When there is an increase in output, average cost falls and marginal cost is less than the average cost. So here the first option is correct, an increase in output. Average cost falls with an increase in output. Second question, the pure monopolist obtains equilibrium level of output when marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, price is equal to marginal cost, price is the lowest, price is the highest. The conditions of a monopolist to obtain equilibrium is the marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue and the slope of the marginal cost is greater than the slope of the marginal revenue at the point of intersection. Here four options are given. The first one is the correct option. The condition is marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. The pure monopolist obtains equilibrium level of output when marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Third question, the transformation curve is derived from the consumption curve, utility possibility curve, social welfare function, production contract curve. First, let's see what is consumption curve, what is utility possibility curve, what is social welfare function, what is production contract curve. First on consumption curve. Consumption curve is the locus of points showing the consumption bundles of a consumer chosen at various levels of income. Utility possibility curve is the graph showing the highest amount of utility a person can attain given each utility levels of other persons in the society. Social welfare function is the level of welfare in an economy or society expressed as a function of economic variables. Production contract curve is the locus of points showing the allocation of resources to producing one good instead of another. It is like one good is being transformed into another. Here the transformation curve is also the locus of points showing how one good is being transformed into another. So the transformation curve is derived from the production contract curve. Fourth question, match the items in list 1 with the items in list 2. List 1, principle of economics, kinged demand curve, principle of maximum social advantage, law of invisible hand. List 2, Paul Sweezy, Adam Smith, Marshall, Dalton. The first one is principle of economics. It is a book of Alfred Marshall, first published in 1890. So the first one is Principle of Economics, Marshall. Second, Kinged Demand Curve. This concept was given by Paul Sweezy. The king in the demand curve occurs because rival firms or competitive firms will behave differently to price cuts and price increases. Here the demand curve is not a straight line, but it has a different elasticity for higher and lower prices. So, Kinged Demand Curve, Paul Sweezy. Principle of maximum social advantage. That is, the financial activities of the government to maximize the economic welfare of the society as a whole. The financial activities of the government to maximize the economic welfare of the society. This concept was given by Dalton. Then fourth one, law of invisible hand. This concept was given by Adam Smith. Law of invisible hand, that is the unobservable market force that helps the demand and supply of goods in a free market to reach equilibrium automatically. The unobservable market force that helps the demand and supply of goods in a free market to reach equilibrium automatically. That is law of invisible hand given by Adam Smith. So here the correct option is A. Principle of Economics, Marshall. Kinged Demand Curve, Paul Sweezy. Principle of Maximum Social Advantage, Dalton. Law of Invisible Hand, Adam Smith. Fifth question, market demand for any goods is a function of price per unit of that goods, price per unit of related goods, income of the consumer, taste and preference of the consumer. Here demand function. Demand function means the functional relationship between demand for a commodity and its determinants. Several factors determine the demand for a commodity. Price of the particular commodity, price of related goods, that is substitute and complementary goods, income of the consumer, taste and preferences of consumer, population size, future expectations of the consumer, so on. So here the four options are given. All the four options are determinants, or the factors which affect the market demand. So here the correct option is option D. From the code 1, 2, 3 and 4 are true. Market demand for any goods is a function of price per unit of that goods, price per unit of related goods, income of the consumer, taste and preference of the consumer. Next question, match the items in list 1 with the items in list 2. List 1, psychological law of consumption, relative income hypothesis, permanent income hypothesis, life cycle hypothesis. List 2, ratchet effect, age structure of the population, distribution of income, backward looking expectations. Here the first one is psychological law of consumption. According to this law of consumption, as income increases, consumption also increases, but at a lesser rate than the increase in income. When income of a consumer increases, his consumption also increases, but it is less than to the increased income. So the option here is psychological law of consumption, distribution of income. Second one, relative income hypothesis. This hypothesis was developed by James Dusenberry. This hypothesis states that an individual's attitude to consumption depends more by his income in relation to others than by their abstract standard of living. That is, when income of a consumer falls, his consumption expenditure does not fall much to the level of income which he earns now. He will not reduce his consumption to the new reduced income. This is also called as ratchet effect. So here relative income hypothesis, in list 2 ratchet effect. Third one, permanent income hypothesis. Permanent income hypothesis states that Individuals will spend money at a level that is consistent with their expected long-term average income. This permanent income hypothesis was developed by Milton Friedman. He believed that consumer spending is a result of estimated future income. It is not based on current income. Here, permanent income hypothesis, backward looking expectations. Fourth one, life cycle hypothesis. This was developed by Franco Modigliani in 1957. According to this hypothesis, individuals seek to smooth consumption over the course of a lifetime. People borrow in times of low income and save during periods of high income. The consumption will be a function of wealth, expected lifetime earnings, and the number of years until retirement. So here, life cycle hypothesis. Second one, age structure of the population. Here the correct code is A. Psychological law of consumption, distribution of income, relative income hypothesis, ratchet effect, permanent income hypothesis, backward looking expectations, life cycle hypothesis, age structure of the population. Next question, according to whom surplus value should be given to labor? Adam Smith, Karl Marx, Gandhiji, Sen. Surplus value. This concept was given by Karl Marx. Surplus value is the difference between the value of total output and the supply price of labor. That is, the workers fail to receive the whole of the value of the output as wage. This surplus value is exploited by the capitalist. According to Karl Marx, surplus value should be given to labor. So here correct option is Karl Marx, option B. Okay friends, let's meet in the next video with another one topic. Keep on watching. Please subscribe for more updates. Thank you.